the day on the topic of achieving uniform end-to-end standardization across logistics and supply value chain. What is the road ahead? And now, let me introduce you to our speaker, Mr. R.R. Singh. He is the Scientist Transport Engineering Division from BIS. I would request all the delegates to keep posting their questions in the chat box, and we will address few selected questions at the end of the session. Over to you, Mr. Singh.
On the outset, I would like to congratulate Internet and Mobile Association of India for holding this webinar. And I thank them for inviting BIS for giving a presentation on the topic achieving uniform end-to-end standardization across logistics and supply value chain. So I welcome you all for this webinar. So let us start with what is logistics? So a basic definition of logistics is overall process of managing how resources are acquired, stored, and transported to their final destination. Get some basic fundamentals of logistics, then we can have 7 R's of logistics. The 7 R's of logistics are getting the right product in the right quantity, in the right condition, at the right place, at the right time, to the right customer, at the right price. So if we look at the elements of logistics, the elements of logistics are storage, warehousing and material handling, packaging and unitization, inventory control, transportation, and information and control. These are some of the elements of logistics which all logistics sectors they have to follow. Now, if we look at standards and standardization, then there is a standard definition of standardization, which is the standardization is the activity of establishing with regard to actual or potential problems, provisions for common and repeated use aimed at the achievement of the optimum degree of order in a given context. So there are 2 notes. This definition has been taken from ISO IEC Guide 2. So there are 2 notes to this definition. Note number 1 is that, in particular, the activities consist of processes of formulating, issuing, and implementing standards. The note number 2 is that important benefits of standardizations are improvement of the suitability of product, processes, and services for the intended purposes, prevention of barriers to trade, and facilitation of technological cooperation. Now, a basic definition of standard is that standard is a document established by consensus and approved by a recognized body that provides for common and repeated use, rules, guidelines, or characteristics for activities or their results aimed at the achievement of the optimum degree of order in a given context. There is no also annexed to this definition that standards should be based on the consolidated results of science, technology, and experience and aimed at the promotion of optimum community benefits. Now, if we look at the standard, so standard is a document which is the outcome of the distilled wisdom of people with expertise in the subject matter and who know the needs of the organization they represent, people such as manufacturers, sellers, buyers, customers, trade associations, users, or regulators. So as we can see that a whole gamut of stakeholders are involved in establishing any standard. So standards if we look at the standardization space, then we can have 3 axes. The 3 axes are level, subject, and aspect. So for any level, any subject, for example, engineering, industry, commerce, science, education, transport, housing, building, food, agriculture, forestry, textile, and chemicals, we can have various levels such as individual standardization level, company level, association level, national level, regional level, or international level. And for each of these combinations of subject and level, we can have different aspects for standardization, such as nomenclature, specification, sampling, and inspection, test and analysis, limitation of variety, code of practice, model form of contract or agreement. So for each there can be various combinations, permutations and combinations for each of these aspects of standardization. Each of these is standardization space, such as for engineering, there can be a nomenclature standard which can be of individual level. For food, there can be a sampling and inspection standard, and that can be a national standard. And there can be a regional standard. For example, we can have a SARC standard or SAS standard or different kind of European Union standard. So these are some of the regional standardization activities. The principle of standardization which we follow, which is generally followed throughout the world, is the principles of transparency. So for formulating standard, but absolute transparency is maintained. All the comments which are received on the document, they are threadbare discussed in the committee, and whatever the committee decides, that is included in the standard based on the discussions which take place. There is another principle of openness. There is nothing secret in standard formulation. Everything is open. So everybody who wants to have a kind of discussion on standardization or any draft, he or she is open to give his views on the standards or drafts, whatever the case may be. Another principle of standardization is impartiality and consensus. So we at BIS, as a national standard body, we follow the principle of consensus. Consensus means that a general agreement on any subject matter. It does not mean unanimity, but a general agreement leads to consensus. So we have invariably we have the consensus principle in setting national standards in India. And the other principle of standardization is effectiveness and relevance. So all the standards which we develop, they should be effective and relevant to the contemporary context, and the standards should be also coherent to the existing state of the art. So another principle of standardization is development dimension. Then stakeholders engagement is another principle of standardization which is of paramount importance. So we also, as a national standards body, the BIS also lays stress on stakeholder engagement. So time to time we hold meetings with various stakeholders, and we also hold seminars with the stakeholders, so that we can reach out to them for their views on standards formulation and the standards in particular. The due process of standardization is also followed. So we have got a set process of standards formulation in which anybody can give his or her proposal for a standards formulation. So that if the standard formulation process is considered apt for formulating standards, then that is taken by the concerned section committee for standardization, and a basic draft is developed. Based on that basic draft, that draft is circulated among the committee members. Then, based on the discussions, the basic draft is modified, refined, and a preliminary draft is made based on the comments received on the basic draft or working draft. So once the preliminary draft is circulated among the committee members, again, the comments are invited. If the comments are received, then those comments are also shared in the discussed in the committee meetings, and whatever is the outcome on the comments, they are included in the next draft, which is widely circulated among all the stakeholders throughout India and also internationally. And that wide circulation draft is also posted on our BIS website. And anybody is free to comment on the wide circulation draft. So all the comments which are received on the wide circulation draft, they are again discussed in the committee, and the decision of the committee is incorporated in the draft, which is known as the final draft or F draft. So that final draft, finalized draft is sent for publication, and that is gazetted through the National Gazette of India. Then another principle of standardization is that national implementation should be there. So if a standard is formulated and its implementation is not proper or adequate, then that standard does not play any significant role in the science and technology or in the industrial development of the country. So national implementation is also very important, and we also ensure that the standards are broadly they are advertised, and all the stakeholders they are made aware about the availability of the standard. And now the BIS has, earlier the Indian standards were price publications. Now the Indian standards are they can be freely downloaded from our BIS, eBIS web portal. So anybody who feels that he wants to use any standard, he or she can freely download the Indian standard from our website. We have also ISO adoptions as standards. So those ISO standards are not freely available because because uh, because of our agreement with ISO, we cannot sell any standard gratis, free of cost. So that's why those ISO adoptions are priced publications. So as far as the national standardization effort is concerned, under BIS Act 2016, Bureau of Indian Standards, that is BIS, establishes Indian standards in relation to any article or process and amends, revises, or cancels the standards so established as may be necessary by a process of consultation with consumers, manufacturers, technologists, scientists, and officials through duly constituted committees. Currently, the national standardization work is being done by 15 dedicated division councils. So one division council generally represents one area of science and technology. Now in BIS, currently we have got Chemical Engineering Division Council and Civil Engineering Division Council, Electronics and Information Technology Division Council, Electrotechnical Division Council, Food and Agricultural Division Council, Management and Systems Division Council, Mechanical Engineering Division Council, Medical Equipment and Hospital Planning Division Council, Metallurgical Engineering Division Council, Petrochemical, Coal and Related Products Division Council, Production and General Engineering, Service Sector, Textiles, Transport Engineering, Water Resources. So in these 15 broad areas, we formulate standards, and currently we have got more than 20,000 Indian standards generally in practice now. Now, as far as the warehousing is concerned, warehousing standards are concerned, we have got standards on warehousing also. So the warehousing structure standards include construction standards, flooring standards, roofing standards, design and construction standards. And we have also got maintenance standards, including fire safety standards, security standards, occupational health and safety standards, illumination standards. And we have got warehousing machinery standards and standards for warehouse management system. Now, as far as the Indian standards of warehousing is concerned, we have got guidelines for Group H storage and warehousing occupancy guidelines in the National Building Code of India 2016, including Part 6, that is on structural design. Then we have got Code of Practice for plain and reinforced concrete, that is IS 456. Then we have got Code of Practice for composite construction in structural steel and concrete, that is IS 11384. Then we have got fire safety standards prescribed by NBC 2016, given in Part 4 of the National Building Code. We have got portable fire extinguishers, that is IS 15683. Then we have got Code of Practice for interior illumination, that is IS 3646 Part 1. And we have got ISO 45001, which is on occupational health and safety management system, requirements with guidance for use. Then we have got ISO 39001 for road traffic safety management system requirements with guidance for use. So these are some of the standards on warehousing. Then we have got standards on storage and material handling. So, so palletization and unit loads. Palletization means that the entire package is put on a pallet so that it can be conveniently handled by a forklift. And the entire load on the pallet can be considered as a unit load. As far as the packaging is concerned, those who are in the packaging industry, we can very well understand that in the packaging, we have got individual packaging, then we have got master packaging. Then those master packaging, they are combined to form a unit load. So unit loads are designed in the dimensions of unit loads are designed in such a way that they can fit properly on pallets. For example, the pallets are also of various sizes. For example, 1240 by 1240, and various other dimensions of standards are there. And those standards of pallets, they are made keeping in view the racking requirements of the warehouses, as well as the dimensions of the containers in which they are to be carried. So the dimensions of the pallets and the dimensions of the containers, they are matched so that the entire space of the containers can be utilized effectively for handling the load. So again, once all the pallets are they are packed into a container, then that container serves as a unit load. So the entire container, it can be transported through ship. It can be transported through aeroplanes. It can be transported through roads. It can be transported through railways. So the entire containers itself, the dimensions of the containers, their sizes, they are ISO series containers. Their sizes are standardized in such a way that they can be fitted on any modes of transport. So in fact, the containers are multimodal in nature. Now, BIS has been working on the standardization of pallets and unit loads and containers and various aspects for for a very long time. And we have formulated many standards on pallets and unit loads. Some of the standards are IS 4300 box pallets for through transit of goods. Then IS 6865 specification for pallets for use in ISO series 1 freight containers. Then IS 8005 classification of unit loads. Then 9340 expendable pallet specification. And 11982 design rating and safe working load for general purpose pallets for through transit of goods. And 13546 general purpose flat pallets for through transit of goods performance requirements. And 13608 is on sheet pallets specification. Then we have got material in Indian standards on material handling equipment. So as we have discussed earlier, that pallets and forklifts, they work in combination, they work in sync with each other. Without pallets, forklifts are their utilization is partial, and without forklifts, the pallets are of very little use. So a simile can be brought out like needle and thread. So we can just understand that without thread, a needle is of no use. It can do no stitching, and similarly, without needle, thread can also do very little. It can do no stitching. So, like needle and thread, forklift and pallets go hand in hand. Some of the standards on pallet material handling equipments are IS 10517, acceptance criteria for forklift trucks, 11757, general requirements and acceptance criteria for forklift trucks with capacity from 10,000 kg to 50,000 kg, and IS 6305, Part 1, safety code for powered industrial trucks, application, operation, and maintenance, and IS 7496, direction of travel controls for industrial tractors and powered industrial trucks, 6876, forklift trucks, fork arms, technical characteristics and testing, and IS 10312, safety codes for powered road trucks, and 14770, industrial trucks, inspection and repair and service on forklift trucks. So these are some of the standards on material handling equipment. Then some of the standards on transportation of goods. So once these materials are handled in the warehouse, then they have to be transported through some transportation method to their destination. So some of the standards which BIS has brought out on transportation of goods are IS 8037, General Requirements for Transport Tractors, Trailers, then 14738, Flexible Intermediate Bulk Containers, then we have got 15734, Freight Containers, Repair Before Refurbishing, and 15739, Freight Containers, Refurbishing Guidelines, then 15771, Packaging, Complete Filled Transport Packages and Unit Load, Impact Test by Rotational Drop, and IS 8790, Part 1, General Requirements of Power Industrial Trucks Working in Hazardous Areas. Part 1 is on internal combustion engines, power trucks, and the same standard Part 2 is on electric battery powered industrial trucks. Then we have got ISO standard also, ISO 668, Series 1 Freight Containers Classification, dimensions and ratings. And the dimensions of containers are containers and tractors and trailers, and semi-trailers, full trailers. They are regulated under CMVR 1989 by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. So whatever the length, width, and height of a container, they are regulated in India. Although there are standards, ISO standards on Series 1 freight containers, but in India for road transport, these dimensions are regulated by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Then we have got some standards on information and control, that is IS 13252 series of standards is on installation of surveillance equipment, information technology equipment safety. Then we have got IS 16722 radio frequency identification system for automotive applications. So these RFID system can be used in any tractor trailer or combination, so that these tractor trailers can be identified through RFID system. Then we have got IS 1436 specification for weigh bridges, and 1432 general requirements for weighing instruments. So these are some of the standards of information and control. Now, as far as the future of logistics is concerned, the future is of logistics in India or throughout the world is very bright. Because of the advent of e-commerce business, the logistics is going to play a very important role in establishing end-to-end logistics. So now some of the future is that the advent of global logistic business providers will be there. So logistics will not be a localized business anymore. It will be a global business. So the global players will be there. Although the small players will be there, but some of the players will be very big, and they will be having a very state-of-the-art technology in their logistics business. And the next will be that cyber logistics will have its expansion in the logistics area. And the use of ultra-high-speed cargo vessels will be utilized in future. These cargo vessels will run at a speed of more than 100 kilometers per hour. So when we can see just that we can see that the cargo which is moved through water is very economical and very cheap related to the other modes of transportation. So with coming of the ultra high speed cargo vessels, the logistics cost will come down, and the logistics speed will increase. So then in the logistics area will be using the automatic recognition technologies for recognizing the packages through RFID technology or maybe some other technology in future. And the use of fold type containers will be there, because when a container is sent to some part of the world, then with load in it, a filled container is sent to some part of the world, some country in the world, and in the return journey, the container comes empty. So that is a kind of cost which can be saved. So if we can use fold type containers, then various containers can be loaded on a single ship, and that will reduce the cost of the entire return journey of the containers. Then least inventory level by supply chain management. We can have a least inventory level by following a very efficient supply chain management. So supply chain management will be very important in coming days. And later on, unmanned material handling will be there. So manual labor will not be utilized in material handling uh, in future. And we'll be having eco-friendly logistic systems in place that will be using green energy, clean energy, and that will be uh, healthy for our mother planet. Now, in India, uh, the logistics sector will will witness a time of consolidation, process standardization, technological upgradation, and digital transformation in future. So the customer will demand a kind of cost-effective, customized, and solution involving end-to-end logistics. And many 3PL and 4PL logistic service providers will come, and that will solve some of the complexities of the logistics and supply chain management. And for the environment-friendly logistics, sustainable and efficient e-vehicles, some of the supply chain logistic companies will use e-vehicles for last mile delivery. So as far as the country is concerned, the India is coming out with a national logistics policy, and with national logistics policy in place and with proper standards in place, we can have a seamless movement of goods across not only through the country but throughout the globe. So in the logistics sectors, there are opportunities galore, and the business environment is replete with enthusiasm and hope. And after COVID, I think the sky will be limit for the logistics sector. Now, as a national standards body, what we expect from the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, whether they are committee members or not, it is immaterial. So we expect that all the stakeholders whosoever are involved in the logistics sectors, they should go through all the standards which have been formulated by BIS in the past, and they should participate in the national standardization initiative efficiently, effectively, and actively. And they should also have timely scrutiny and comments on draft Indian standards, which are under the circulation. So they can just visit our website, and all the drafts which are under circulations, they can be accessed. Then we also receive ISO drafts on various ISO standards. So these drafts can also be sent to our stakeholders for their scrutiny and comments, if those are of their interest. Then, if somebody is interested in national standardization work in some company, some firm, or some industry, then they can nominate suitable technical person for standardization work. And we expect that all the industry, the logistic industry, should implement Indian standards in their respective areas, and everybody should act. Everybody whosoever is involved in the logistics sector, logistics business, they should act in the true national perspective during the standards development process and their implementation. Now, for further details, and that was all from my side, and I would like to conclude my small presentation with a quotation from Chakravarti Rajgopalachari. He used to say that standards are to industry what culture is to society. So if an industry has to flourish, the standardization and the standards should flourish, and the standards of the country tell about the level of industrialization and level of the industry in any country. So I request all of you, all those who are participating in this webinar, to just think their activities in sync with the national standardization efforts. So I thank you all for patient hearing. So any questions, the questions are most welcome. I would like to answer them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Thank you so much. We do have a few questions. Maybe we can take it offline because we are almost out of time. We'll wrap up here, and then maybe I can share those questions on your email ID.
Okay, ma'am. No problem.
Thank you so much, sir. And a special thanks to our sponsors. Our title partner here, Technologies, are powered by Partner Panda Corporation, brought to you by Partner Grey Orange, and supported by Logistics Skill Council. We do have other few sessions. Please stay tuned. We are signing off. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.